And I think he probably can hear me now. I don't know if my desktop audio, which would be my Zoom, is coming through. Where the hell is Zoom? I swear, man. Were you able to get the Zoom recording going or nah? Blah. I know, right? Can you hear both of us or just me? Oh, well, shit. I had my fucking my mic muted on OBS. Derp. Yeah. Right. Derp. Yeah, I am. Y- yeah, it's back. Yeah. Um, mm-hmm. Yeah, from what I understand, this can do SMB or even iSCSI. So those options are there too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like I was saying, this is Unrated is flexible as shit. Like you can do a lot with it. Uh. Oh shit. Yeah. You would think. But then again, I am still kind of new to OBS. We'll have to play around with it some more. Right. Just like I said, we was literally like, dude, you want to do a quick live stream? He was like, yeah, let me get a beer. And, I was like, I think I got OBS working right for this. Like, no, I didn't. Not on this machine. I didn't. Yeah. But, I try to install native debs whenever I can. Um, and I'll use snaps as replacement for debs if I can't find one. For example, Signal, like the repositories in Signal for Signal, have old deb packages, but the Snap app is current. So I pulled the deb out of the machine and then put the Snap in, and I've been using that. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right, right. Mm-hmm.
So it's something I'll just fire up for like a second just to see if there's any changes without having to open a browser and go out to coincap.io or something like
Yeah.
that.
I think
But
I might have just found the volume meter for your voice.
oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot that whenever I plug in this particular mic, it kind of jumbles all of the damn all of the
Like the levels and stuff like that.
with the input and output devices, and I have to select new defaults manually every time
Oh.
because it has an input and an output. I guess maybe for noise cancellation or whatnot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
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 okay. So Jorge says, "Wow, wow."
yeah,
Can you hear me
yeah, he can hear
now?
you because I can.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, shit, we did all that damn talking.
I know. It's like, and for half of it, like you're muted, then I'm muted. Um, yeah, yeah.
Growing
We might
pains.
have to just, we might just have to we might just redo this episode. Actually, I mean, it's kind of a good practice to go through with trying to configure everything.
Right.
Um, but what I'll do is, we'll use that list for the Nextcloud server that we're
Mm-hmm.
building. He goes, now he can hear both. Okay, cool. All right.
Right.
Really
Right.
sorry, man. We're trying to figure this out. So we're running Zoom and OBS is running on Linux along with Zoom, and so had a lot of uh, things we didn't catch
Yeah.
on
It's my
the
mic's
input.
fault. I blame the mic.
Yeah, which mic are you using? Using the
It.
USB mic or
Yeah. It's
okay?
a like a $35 podcaster mic from Chinese company called Fifine, but
Oh,
it
okay,
had a really good reviews. So I was like, yeah, for $35, this won't hurt anything, and it'll be better
sure,
than any inline little lapel mic or whatever
right,
that I have
right,
here. So, yeah.
yeah. This guy, I bought this Yeti mic. Oh my gosh, I don't know, 8 years ago. This Yeti blue
A word.
mic thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's USB, and then I got the Rode stand for it from like Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
and it's it's done really well. I mean, it's not as good as like an XLR mic running into like a soundboard or a premix or something with a, but for just a USB mic, I mean, it's done well. It works in Linux, works in Mac, Windows, everything. I just plug
Right.
and play. Um, but I've been looking at like the Shure mics, some of the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can imagine what you guys talked about. Yeah. So Jorge, basically, I'll just give you a quick recap. It was just Carolyn's helping me build a server, which is basically at first I was thinking like just like a Nextcloud server, and as we've kind of got more into doing research, it seems like the best thing to do is set up a Docker server and run, or Unraid, I should say, Unraid, and run
the
different Dockers inside,
right.
Nextcloud being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also could run a streaming server on that as well, streaming Docker, since a lot of my files on the Unraid server will be media files. The whole objective is to get off of Dropbox and slowly get off a lot of cloud services where I can just basically use my own cloud that I can access remotely from my mobile devices as well, because I have a gigabit connection at the house. So I have plenty of bandwidth to request files over, an LTE connection somewhere, wherever I am.
Mm-hmm.
But
Self-hosting.
self-hosting, I'm trying to basically move to self-hosting as much as possible. And I'm sure as we progress through this podcast and everything else, we'll get deeper into the weeds on some of those things. As far as like, I've been on Apple, using Apple products for 15-ish years, maybe longer,
Yeah.
all the way back to Apple IIe. But
Yeah.
PowerBooks, and then when they switched, so slowly migrate as much as my personal life. My work life stuff, because I do a lot of media stuff, will still use a Mac for, but my personal stuff will be on de-Googled and de-Apple devices, if that makes sense. So using Linux, using Lineage OS, using Graphene OS, and a big part of that is also just where my data sits in the cloud and taking that back and managing it myself. So this podcast is literally ad hoc because we've been working on the build for the server as far as the hardware for like the last week or so.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, oh well, let's maybe just start here, start the podcast here. Um, and going forward, we'll have a lot of content about Linux gaming on Linux, kind of hence Penguins on Proton YouTube channel. And we also have the Linuxcrypt YouTube channel, which will be putting out content focused on privacy, security, cryptocurrency, and also just new like devices and neat products that we might be checking out. I've been waiting on the Librem 5 now. I ordered it like a year and a half ago, somewhere
Man, it
around
has
there.
been that long, hasn't it?
It's been a long time. Bought it with cryptocurrency, and it was supposed to have already shipped and received at the end of March, but with the COVID thing, it got pushed to August. Is when I'm supposed to receive it. So
Wow.
that should still also be coming. Um, I don't have super high hopes for that device based on my experience with other Librem products. Not bashing the company, I have not yet had a good experience with their products
Mm-hmm.
and sent it back. And since I decided to switch to Lenovo ThinkPad X1 for my laptop, I think the next Linux laptop will be. I'm looking at that System 76. I want to say it's like Limu or something like
Yeah,
that, or
the lemur.
Lemur. That's
Oh,
it.
I didn't say. Let's go to the website. You know, I love to go to System 76. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I've got a desktop and everything, but I live my life a lot away from home. So
this
like
one,
laptops, yeah,
the lemur
it's like
Pro.
the Lemur Pro. I think it looks sweet, man. Um,
Yeah, this is a new model too because they didn't have
uh,
one that folded down this far.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So I saw that and I was like, yeah, that's kind of nice, and it has core boot,
Mm-hmm.
10th gen Intel Core i5s and i7s, DDR4 up to 40 gigs, bro. So if you wanted to run Cubes OS, you could. If you wanted to run uh, other like GNOME boxes or anything like that, it'd be, I mean, up to 4 terabytes with NVMe drives. That's bananas for a laptop,
Mm-hmm.
especially one that thin. So,
Right. Yes. Okay. So it has two NVMe slots.
right.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest NVMe's that you can get right now at a half decent, reasonable price are 2 terabytes each.
The only thing I wish, I mean, I know you're not going to have very many video GPU options with a machine that thin. Um, I just don't know how great those Intel UHD graphics would do for, say, something like mobile video editing. Um,
Depending on the app you use, it may tap it,
yeah,
it may not. I know DaVinci won't. DaVinci doesn't
right,
doesn't tap the integrated Intel GPUs, so
right,
you'd have to
right.
use something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest bridges is to, the video editing stuff. It, I'm financially and time experience wise invested in a Final Cut on Mac OS, but and that's it's not really a thing. That's not a make or break point. I have no problem using the best tool for the job, especially when I already own the tools.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about compartmentalization. So if I'm using my Mac as like is a theoretical air quote corporate work machine
You're right.
where I have my company email and work stuff on there, but I'm not doing email. I'm not storing personal files. I'm not having personal conversations. I'm not visiting websites where I'm logged into personal accounts on to track and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's not 100%, but it's like having a work issued laptop. I mean, it's my own company, but I kind of treated it, like am I like compartmentalized, being like, well, if I do anything personal, I have on my Linux machine,
Mm-hmm.
and everything work I do on my Mac.
Right.
And And I could do a lot of work stuff on my other Linux machines as well, because most of what I do is in the browser. Uh, but when I saw that, though, I was like, man, that is because my biggest complaint, I love the ThinkPads.
Right.
Love the ThinkPad. I mean, the ThinkPad is just, it's like the almost perfect laptop, the exception of the limitations on its memory. I'm sure that might change in the future, though, but I also wouldn't mind for my next machine to support a company that's actually has my best interest in mind, rather than you know like a System 76 building stuff specifically for
Yeah. Yeah.
Linux.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Huh.
So
So I wonder if OpenShot will do it.
so I was wondering about that too. Like if OpenShot would run on that.
Have you installed it on your ThinkPad yet?
No, I need to though. I'll actually give that a go
Yeah, because
and see how it works.
if it'll work on there, it'll work on the lemur.
True. Okay.
Because
So that might be an option.
yeah, the ThinkPad, is it only Intel integrated, or does it have another GPU as well?
It's just Intel integrated. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go
Yeah.
then. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
So that'll be a good balance. Um, but it just looks like a really cool machine. Like looks it looks over engineered, to be honest with you. But
Yeah, for it to use Core Boot, I wonder if this is still a Clevo, a rebranded Clevo machine like the other ones are. It kind of looks like it, especially by the keyboard, because the keyboard looks exactly like mine.
right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I'm willing to bet that this is probably a rebranded Clevo. Not that that's a
Yeah. It
bad
looks
thing,
like.
because I mean this System 76 is like my third Clevo.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. I mean, dude, to go from 8 gigs of DDR4 RAM to 40 gigs is only a $265 bump.
yeah. So I'm guessing they probably have like 8 gigs uh, soldered onto the motherboard, and then slots for two more, and then two empty slots to add more. Is what I'm guessing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you do the 2 terabyte NVMe drives, things get real pricey. um, but I mean, I think it'd be good to just do like a 1 terabyte NVMe would be probably perfectly sufficient.
Right.
Um, and then I'm just kind of temporary. And then you could do an additional 500 gig or no additional, add it yourself later, I assume.
Yeah. Ah, I see what they did. So they have 8 gigs soldered on the motherboard, and then they have an empty RAM slot to add another DIMM.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you add a 32 in there, that'll give you 40.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That would give you 40. Correct. Yep. That'd be dope, man. To have 40 gigs of RAM on a laptop. Jeez.
Yeah.
I don't even have that much on my desktop. I think I got 32.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything I got has 32 right now.
Yeah. I mean, my MacBook Pro is spec'd out. It has 32 gigs of RAM too, but it's a resource hog, so it's kind of necessary.
Yep. But yeah, man, that'll be a sweet lick. That will be a sweet lick.
Just had to let the dog out real quick, but yeah, that is. Yeah. Anyway, I saw that and I was like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
That could be good. Like, a good Linuxcrypt laptop
Yeah,
for sure.
I really do like this thing right here though, the Oryx Pro. Huh, they don't have
Oh,
a price on here, so I wonder if they're getting ready to refresh this thing.
I was thinking the same thing. I was wondering if, because that was actually why I went to go look for it, and then I saw the Lemur Pro, and I was like, new laptop, who dis? And then when you go on and you go to look at the Oryx Pro, they didn't have any price on the 16 or 17 inch. I was like, okay.
Right.
I was like, what you all doing behind the scenes right now? So
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm thinking either they're gonna refresh it, or they aren't able to source them from Clevo. It's probably one of the two. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess what may be good to do is once we order this stuff, when we start building it, is we can kind of do another video. We'll make sure everything's working well, and we'll start off the video.
Right.
But this it'll be a good segue over to kind of like the first thing we're building under our new brand, if you will,
Brand.
podcast, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it.
Right.
Um, and then we can kind of also start going over doing episodes on some of our other favorite things, whether it's gaming or software and distributions. I mean, I don't want to be a distro review channel or anything like that. I don't have any interest in that. There's plenty of those out there, but maybe more about like what we use, how we use it, how we configure it, for task oriented stuff, whether it's gaming or video editing or development, web dev, and that kind of stuff. Because I think that when you have context around why you go certain routes, it gives people a lot more value than just saying, "Oh, I just like this one,"
Mm-hmm.
or "I like this desktop manager." Well, everyone has it's subjective, so I think that doing things like around like why we choose which apps or distributions or setups for specific tasks is probably more valuable, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Than just being like, well, I like Arch. Well, I like Ubuntu. Well, that's great. Doesn't
Right.
help anybody.
Right. Right. Good. Right. Like great for you. I still get my job done. You get yours done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Kicking around the idea of appliances. I've been trying to figure out how can I best build a coin top appliance where it only runs. You start up like a Pi or whatever. It pulls in the snap package, and that's all it does is display coin top.
That would be kind of cool.
Right, right. Because you can put it
You know,
on like a spare raggedy TV or some shit you got sitting
yeah,
around.
actually, it'd be kind of fun to do it like on a small monitor. I did let
Mm-hmm.
my dog in, but like a small monitor, like for the Raspberry Pis, you can buy those really inexpensive LCD monitors
Mm.
for them to run, and they're like I literally like $40 on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not something that small, but if you could kind of like I don't know, make like a almost like a picture frame looking thing out of like a smaller like a 13-inch, 15-inch LCD and like have it like on the wall or something, and
Right, right.
it just makes it look kind of art deco, but it's like it's actually a screen, so the numbers are changing with the price fluctuation and everything. It's
Mm-hmm.
like that look kind of neat.
I'm pretty sure I have an extra LCD panel or two around here. I wonder if I could wire in something like that as well. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's actually you could probably do like a Raspberry Pi uh
Right.
setup with and you could probably even do some sort of block explorer or something on it too, or something neat like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited to get this MyNode um, Raspberry Pi 4 that I got from MyNode up and running, and just seeing the mempool, like
Right.
stuff like that. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
there are ways to see stuff like that, but it's cooler if it's all contained in like one like appliance.
Appliance. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. You can make it like office decorations and shit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, have fun with it. It's kind of
Right.
nerdy, but it's fun.
Yep.
Um, and as far as like, I think that's another aspect of like the channel, like the podcast and stuff, is in cryptocurrency, but maybe not necessarily like, uh, you know, trading tips or mining or anything. But I mean, mining maybe to a degree, but I think that like the overall philosophy about cryptocurrency, the overall philosophy about open source software, freedom, you know, we think about freedom and we think about the Constitution, we think about the protection. And it's not political. I'm not trying to get political. I'm just saying, when I think about that kind of stuff, and oftentimes, like in general, people think about like, oh, we have rights. Yeah, we absolutely have rights. Some of those rights that like the Constitution protects does not necessarily cover digital. digital property.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the reason for just like, your personal safety is kind of like your personal responsibility, which is why we have locks on our doors and our houses and locks on our cars, and we secure our kids. And, like it's our responsibility to keep things like locked down. Well, so is our technology life too. And though I wish that we had more legislation that basically promoted the protections of consumers rather than stripping our abilities to, request where our data is being stored and how, or Congress last week, was pushing through this bill for encryption.
Mm-hmm.
Make basically they want to make it. It was Mitch McConnell that
Turtle,
sponsored this.
turtle.
Seriously, but it was a bipartisan thing, and it kind of like, and I'm not partisan. I'm not trying to bring up politics. It's just like this actually is happening, and these bills, this legislation directly affects everyday people to have conversations without it being, spied on and that kind of stuff. And a lot of people are like, I don't have anything to hide. Most of us don't. But if you want to have a conversation with somebody, then you're talking about things like personal stuff, like maybe you're going through a divorce, or maybe you're going through a financial crisis, or you're trying to get advice from somebody about financial advice, and you're I mean, all this kind of stuff that you wouldn't want other people to listen to. It's
Right.
not that it's wrong. It's not that it's illegal. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
You should be able to have those kind of conversations without worrying about, you know, people listening into it or mining it and that kind of stuff. And this bill wasn't specifically about that. It was basically warrantless browser search history querying.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
And so, it's like, and now they want to basically, make it difficult or illegal to use end-to-end encryption. So apps like Signal and all that kind of stuff would be on the chopping block. So it's just like, anyway, not to go down that road like super dark, but it's like there's a reason for the passion behind wanting to learn how to do a lot of this stuff, learn how to be a little bit more vigilant in protecting personal data, but then also being able to do some cool stuff,
Right.
neat
Yeah.
stuff. And cryptocurrency kind of falls in that realm of cool stuff. It's very anti-establishment. It's very it's uncensored. It is, it's unregulated in a lot of ways. It's it's getting more regulated, but it's still very unregulated in a lot of ways as far as how it can be used. Just same as cash, though. um,
Facts.
and so, I think that's kind of like the passion for those things, those topics, are what drives me to want to do stuff like what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah.
yourself out of the ecosystems as much as you want to, compartmentalize, just understand like how your data is being used and how to safeguard yourself, just like we safeguard ourselves from the outside world, from robberies and whatever. You don't go into bad areas, you don't do, so it's like that kind of thing is, well, why don't we take this stuff seriously with like everything else that we do? It's like everyone's so fast to jump on every new technology platform, every social network, and no reading, not that you can read every EULA for everything that you use, but it's kind of like, who's using this? Who benefits from you using this platform? What do you get out of it? What's the value and the trade-off from your personal data for what you receive as far as from the product? And I think it's just kind of like being more aware of that whole
Yeah.
mental process.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that legally we give up the farm every time we just click through a EULA somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But you know.
100%. Absolutely. Um, so, if you're using software that doesn't have a EULA like Facebook does, like you're using software that has a GNU GPL license, then you automatically should feel much safer about using that application or using that software.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, how many times have you installed a piece of Adobe software and it is firing off services in the background and sending all sorts of information back to Adobe about
Man,
what you're doing and how you're using the software, and you know
right.
all of that stuff. It's just kind of like, I just want to start opting out where I can, where it makes sense, and slowly. And it's not going to happen overnight, but if I can make strides over a little bit by little bit, month over month, year over year, then eventually I'll find myself in a place where I'm like, yo, I am totally FOSS.
Right.
I am 100% open source.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ultimate goal for me personally.
Yeah.
And my email is like, I pay for my email, or I'm using Proton Mail, I'm using LavaBit, I'm using something, and I'm compartmentalized. My work life is separate from my personal life, and even within my personal life, I might compartmentalize. Hey, I fire up this Docker if I want to go on Instagram or Twitter or something like that, because I don't want all the tracking on my core OS.
Yeah.
And on my core browser and all the cookies. I don't want to have to delete my browser history every time I want to go on a social network. Running plugins, like running extensions like uBlock Origin and Privacy Badger and HTTPS everywhere. Just, not to mention how freely like Wi-Fi is available, and dodging man-in-the-middle attacks, using VPNs, just being vigilant. That's the whole thing. Just be vigilant to know how easy it is for people to get your stuff, not just your data, but like financial stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but so that's kind of the goal. My cat's over here driving me crazy. Kyle's back here just crying to go outside. I'll let you outside. I'll let you out. Might get eaten by a coyote.
Kyle is hilarious.
Dude.
Yeah.
Except when he's annoying.
Well,
So anyway,
I guess we should wrap here. I need
yeah,
to get
definitely.
to sleep, man.
Yeah, for sure, dude. For
Yeah.
sure. Me too. I'm gonna be heading off in about an hour, and it's already almost 1 for you. Jeez.
Right.
Yeah, it's time to shut it down. But this is awesome, and we'll definitely get get the kinks worked out, and I'm excited to do a lot more of these. So.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, we need to come up with a schedule and whatnot to kind of keep the consistency going, because it makes a difference.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, and it'll be easier.
Right.
And you won't be staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe we could kick it off like 8 o'clock your time, or something like 9 o'clock or something. Something that's like reasonable. So if we're up for an hour or two doing it, you're not like toast the next day.
Yeah. And on a different day, because like I have another podcast on Sunday typically. So.
Oh my gosh, that's right. I forgot you do the AFK podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
for sure.
we'll get it all. We'll get it all figured out though.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good, man.
Alrighty then, man. Peace to the chat. Well, our one listener.
Peace to the chat.
Jorge. Appreciate the feedback, because
Yeah.
I literally caught it late. I was like, wait a minute, why are there's no green bars moving here? Like, what's going on with that? But yeah. At any rate, let's wrap it up.
Yep. Sounds good.
Episode 00000 signing off.
Zero is on lock.
Deuces.